I'm not joking, chat. It was massive. What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. It's no BS time, and I'm saying BS because I don't want to get demonetized by YouTube. But we're going to talk today about the absolute best way to farm XP in the game. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Come and check me out live if you need help with the incursion and raids and things like that. And if you need a community Discord, you'll find the link down below in the description. You definitely should join. With all that said though, let's get started. So 55 million an hour, 37 million an hour, 20 million an hour. I don't know. How much XP can you actually farm realistically in an hour? We're going to get into it in a big way. I'm going to show you builds. I'm going to show you examples. I'm going to show you math. I'm going to show you everything you need to know so that you have all the tools you need to farm the absolute best XP per hour. But first, let's talk about that word, best. You'll see that word come up everywhere on YouTube, or the ultimate, or the best way to do this, or whatever, you know, title, just like mine, that's a clickbaity title to get you into the video, to get you guys to watch it. Now, there's a few things we can describe this. You could be an absolute ultimate demon sweat lord that loves to use determined. 20 directives, heroic, and you could breeze through it in 10 seconds. But let's face it, that's the majority of that is not us. You know, I am not that demon sweat lord. You know, I might like to kick back on the couch, feet up, get me controller, get myself a beer, sit and just chill and farm. Or you might be a person that likes to do it really, really hard, and you know, you want to chill out, but you want to do it as hard a setting as possible. You want to make it as difficult as you can for yourself. For what reason? I don't know. Or you might be a person who just sticks it on the hardest settings because you want good gear, you want XP, and that's just the way it is, right? You play on heroic, you get the best gear while you're doing it. So there's multiple ways we can describe the word best. This video is going to be just about XP, right? This is just literally for you to farm XP, deconstruct everything that comes along with it lightly, and get some materials along the way. Now, no cheese. We're not doing anything, you know, we're not white mapping. We're not just doing the same event over and over again by resetting the map. We're just going to play the game and we're going to get the best XP possible. I have talked enough. So let's get into some footage. Okay, so first of all, we have to talk about this. So when Year 5 came along in Season 1, they did an XP rebalance. Resource convoys are no longer king, and they tried to make it so that you do absolutely everything on the map to gain XP. That does kind of work, and it kind of doesn't work. Public executions are definitely your best bang for your buck right now. And if you go to the tidal basin area, which is where I would always recommend, there is a lot of public events that you can clear off really, really quickly. Kind of do them in, you know, a small group, reset the map, and just go again. I don't think this is cheesy. It's just there's a lot in a real small area, really close together, and it's just going to maximize your gains. If you don't want to do that and you just want to go from event to event to event to CP, that's fine also. But also the settings that I'm going to give you are still going to be the recommended ones. So we've looked at this enough. Does this really matter? Not too much. You just want to know what the best way of doing things is, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Okay, so you can see me now. I am on challenging and I've got all 5 directives on. I'm going to start a timer the minute I start combat, and I'll stop the timer the minute I finish combat, just to make it fair on all the examples that I'm going to show you. Do you like my fancy timer? I was very proud of it. So you can see here, everything's dying really, really easily. I'll talk about directives and how to deal with them. That's all part of the build that I'll go over in a little bit as well. Because obviously, you know, 5 directives can be rough as far as, as far as they're concerned, like Pistolero and things like that. But you can see ammo's not a problem. My armor certainly isn't a problem. I can play out of cover and not have to worry about the enemies. They are not difficult at all. And at 29 seconds, I am done. So let's take a look at the gains and what exactly happened there. Okay, so that took me 29.14 seconds if we're going to be absolutely precise. From the minute I shot a bullet to the minute it popped up and said talk to the hostage. Now, I could go on forever for data for this. So if I ran 100 of them and made the average, I know for a fact that scenario, it's around 30 to 40 seconds average scenario if you're in a smaller area. All other events are just as easy. Some take longer than others, but we can't really go into, you know, thousands and thousands of events with an average. We would be here all day. All I'm trying to show you is, you know, off this, you know, one event, for instance, if you did 100 of these, how best this will work out for you, and actually the best all-round scenario when it comes to absolutely any event. So now we've said that, we know that that took me 29.14 seconds. I got 444k XP, and you know, it took, you know, 30 seconds. So that's really good. So let's take a look now if I did heroic and forward directives. Okay, so we are in the same area, just next door actually. We're on heroic, and you can see we're forward directives without pistolero, and we'll start the timer as again I just hit my first bullet. What you're going to notice straight away off the bat here, everything, you know, pretty much is a high-end elite. There's the odd purple in there as well, but enemies are much more difficult to take down, and I can't actually use the same build. Otherwise, as you can see there, if you're not very careful, you'll die. And that's going to be the issue when it comes to heroic. You're either going to do really well and everything's going to go really smooth and you'll get good gear, or actually you'll die every now and again, which takes away from your XP per hour. So you've got to make that choice there yourself. Do you want it to take longer and get high-end gear, or are you happy with just the XP? Because let's face it, you'll target farm in Countdown if you were looking for certain gear, not running around doing public events. That's my thoughts on that anyway. So we stopped the timer there. I'm just about to jump up and complete the event. I'm going to leave this bit running just so you can see my XP numbers if you want to check what it is I'm going to tell you. There you go, you can see the XP numbers. So let's go over exactly what happened there. Okay, so on heroic, that took me 47.31 seconds. So you can see that, you know, there's a good nearly 20 seconds difference in doing that event. I got 491k XP. So I got more XP, around 50k more XP, but it took me 20 more seconds. So you think actually 20 seconds isn't that bad. I got more XP, but it swings and roundabouts at this point to what you want to choose. Heroic's harder, but the gear is better. If you do challenging, it's so much easier. You'll never die. You can literally run into a wall for 30 seconds, but the loot is pretty trash. But we're concentrating on XP. So we're going to talk about a few things here. We're going to talk the per hour situation. So if something took you 29.14 seconds, the challenging for instance, in an hour, you could do that 124 times if it was just rinse and repeat and no traveling in between. That's going to net you 55 million XP in an hour. Now, we know that's impossible. We know that's absolutely impossible. And we'll talk about a different scenario in just a moment. But then if you did the heroic variation of that, you can only do it 77 times in an hour. And that's going to net you 37 million XP. Now you can see there already, it's just, if you're going to farm for any length of time outside of doing it just once, it's better to do it on challenging. You'll have an easier time. You know, you don't have to worry so much. There's a certain build that I'm going to recommend for you, but you don't have to worry about being super min-maxed, expertise out your balls, and or being a sweat lord or anything like that. Like, it's just easier. You're going to have an easier time and you're going to earn more XP, which is what's crazy about the whole XP revamp, right? Actually doing it on challenging is over an hour is going to net you more XP. And just can do some really simple maths here. All you have to do is say, well, actually, what if it takes me half an hour to be in event? So I'm fighting for half an hour, and then I'm going to use the other half an hour traveling around the map, going to the toilet, you know, answering the front door. A tricky situation where I've got to reset the map because there's no events spawning. You got a whole half of it. Even then, you know, if you split that XP into half and half, you're still going to be doing more XP in the hour doing challenging because you can just do more because it takes you so much less time because of how much easier the event is. So it doesn't matter what kind of scenario you put this in. If you're going to be running around the open world map, why not just make it easier for yourself and earn more XP while you're at it? With all that said though, I'm going to show you the challenging build that I recommend. I will show you the heroic build that I was using at the end, just in case you're thinking, do you know what, I'm just happy with the heroic XP. I want the best gear available as well because I want a bit of everything because I'm going to do open world map. So I'll show you both builds, both great builds, and you know, can deal with things really, really well. But we've come to our conclusion there. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. That basically just running challenging 5 directive, it's easy, it's no sweat, and you'll earn more XP over a duration of time just because of how much quicker doing that event is. Okay, so let's move on to the builds. Okay, so first up we're going to talk about the Ouroboros. Now this is the gun of the moment. It's the gun I was running in the video clips. Do you have to run it? Absolutely not. If you wanted to be a little bit more sweaty, you could perhaps go with the Lady Death because it gives you a movement buff after you do a kill. So if you want to shorten these kill times, especially on challenging, you could run the Lady Death. You could run a backfire. You could run you know, there's a whole bunch of different guns. You could run just the Scorpio if you wanted to. You know, there's just any kind of fast SMG type gun is kind of perfect for this. You could run the FAMAS if you wanted to. The Dark Winter was the gun I was just trying to think about. Great gun for this if you wanted. So the top two though, probably the Ouroboros and the Lady Death for the movement speed buff. It gets a huge damage buff. You're running challenging. It's not really too important, but you know, just a fast RPM gun is what I'm going to recommend. I run the FAMAS as a backup. It's an assault rifle. You're never going to match the critical hit chance on this because of the sheer amount of critical hit chance you get on an SMG. So just put whatever you want in the secondary, and same with the offhand, just put whatever you want there as well. You'll never use them anyway. Next up we're going to use a Liquid Engineer. As you can see, we're running 2-piece Bellstone for armor regen and armor on kill. Goes hand in hand with our specialization. We're running Gunner, but we'll get to that at the end. It comes with the core attribute of armor, which is perfect because we want some survivability. Crit chance, crit damage with perfect Bloodsucker. Killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 12% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Now, if you don't want to run this, your other option here would be a Matador with Adrenaline Rush. Or perhaps you could run a Sokolov with Adrenaline Rush as well, or a Sokolov with Bloodsucker. You really don't have to go with the brand set bonus. Like I said before, we're running challenging. It's pretty easy. You could probably go all red, but I want to build in some survivability just so that you're sitting comfortable all the time and you can absolutely no brain it. Next up is going to be our holster. It's the Bellstone again for our 2-piece bonus, armor, crit chance, and crit damage. You can craft one of these bad boys up. The Bellstone literally can be anywhere else. It could be the head, it could be the gloves, or it could be the knees. But again, it really doesn't have to be. I'm just building in survivability just cause. Okay, and the start of the show is ongoing directive. And this is how we get around Pistolero. So you can see 2-piece gives us status effects, 3-piece gives us reload speed, and 4-piece gives us rule of engagement. Shooting a status affected enemy will apply a mark. Killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon and half the clip of the agent's weapon to the rest of the party. And a mark lasts for 10 seconds. Hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and it applies bleed on hit. You can see here with the chest talent, it increases the hollow point ammo damage amplification to 35%, which is great. Now, couple of things here. You could run like a group war chest with obliterate if you wanted to, and then instead of running the holster, you could run an ongoing directive holster. You could run, you know, anything you want here really. You could run a Bellstone chest with obliterate and then run, you know, swap it around. It's just up to you. It just seems that the ongoing directive chest just gives a little bit more bursty damage because there's no stacks to build up. The talent is just an instant amplification of the damage. So like I said, plenty of options, but this is just the best way around that I have thought. We're running the skill here. You can see we're running the Banshee Pulse, which obviously disorientates the enemies. So we're going to disorientate them, we're going to get the kill, and we're going to get a full clip of hollow point ammo. At that point, when we've got the hollow point ammo, it applies the bleed on them, and basically we're going to kill them, and it's going to refill our gun with ammo, letting us get around Pistol Hero, allowing us then to run 5 directives really, really easy. You can see here I've got weapon damage, crit damage on both of the attributes. On the mask, you can see I've got weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. On the gloves, weapon damage, crit damage. And on the knees, weapon damage, critical hit damage. And it just works really, really well. Now, is this build good in Heroic? Yeah, I mean, it does the job. But again, all the difficulty that comes with Heroic, there's quite a step up from challenging to Heroic. I'm min-maxed. It's easy for me to say, yeah, I can survive and I'll be all right. But it's just going to take me longer, you know, and it's just going to not be as efficient as doing it on challenging. Banshee Pulse and the Revive Hive, if you wanted to take a look at the stats, you can see we're at 59% crit chance and 151% critical hit damage, 70% headshot damage. Like I said, you could swap this round. You could go Bellstone here. You could go Matador and 1 Bellstone. You could go Sokolov across the board. I recommend 2 blues in there, and Bloodsucker just gives you a lot of extra, you know, armor and a lot of extra survivability. Absolutely up to you, but this is what I would definitely recommend to go with. So let's take a look at the Heroic build and what I would recommend there. Okay, so let's take a look at what I'd run for Heroic. No surprises here. We're going to go Hunter's Fury. Again, choice of SMG. You could go Ouroboros, you could go Lady Death. Totally up to you. Dark Winter, absolutely up to you here. Like I said, Lady Death if you want the speed increase. Otherwise, probably just the Ouroboros if you have access to it. Gunner is definitely going to be where you're going to be spec'd in because you get armor on kill. You also get, you know, an RPM boost on kill as well, which is great. Secondary gun and everything is up to you. Hunter's Fury, really easy because we get armor on kill, we get SMG damage, and we get the Apex Predator buff. Weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage on the mask. On the gloves, weapon damage, crit damage. On the knees, weapon damage, crit damage. And on the holster, weapon damage, crit damage. The chest and the backpack are up for grabs for what you want to run here. I would definitely recommend running the Liquid Engineer with Perfect Bloodsucker. And if you can get hold of a Bellstone chest piece to match it to get the 2-piece bonus, definitely really, really nice. But you could run a Matador here if you really wanted to. You could run a Sokolov that either has, you know, Bloodsucker on instead if you really wanted to as well. That would also be an option that would be really nice. You could run a Sokolov here that runs Obliterate. That will give you some really, really nice damage as well. You've got to have more damage for this build. In Heroic, you've got to kill or be killed. So you've definitely got to, you know, sustain the damage up there. Maybe think about dropping one of the blues to a red. But you do get a nice damage bonus from running Hunter's Fury. But like I said, this is just generally a much more difficult build to run. If you didn't want to run the Banshee Pulse, I would probably recommend running the shield as well, the Crusader Shield. That's also an option. But as far as backpack talents go, you don't really have much options for survivability. It's really going to have to be Bloodsucker, or it's going to have to be Adrenaline Rush. So it's up to you if you run the perfect versions or you go for more damage. You could put a Grupo, you know, chest in here as well with Obliterate, and then run the Matador. That would also work really well as well. Lots of different options, but really, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this build because you can see here 59% crit chance, 151% critical hit damage, 70% headshot damage. But just because I think that going challenging with the ongoing directive build, currently at the moment, it's just the best bang for your buck. That's going to be it for the video. I wanted to give a huge shout out to my community Discord, Alpine especially, who brought a lot of this information to me a couple of weeks ago. My community Discord is awesome, guys. If you want all the latest and greatest information, if you want help, good advice, don't forget to join. The link is down below in the description. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and check me out live on all my platforms as well. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.